Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Japan this morning, the last leg of his Indo-Pacific trade tour. Just hours after landing in Tokyo, Carney and Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi signed a new comprehensive strategic partnership. The aim of the pact is to boost cooperation on defense, energy, trade, and technology. Officials from both Canada and Japan have been told to identify immediate investment opportunities. Carney and Takaichi also agreed to expand trade when it comes to energy projects, including liquefied natural gas, and to work closer on critical minerals.
That means reliable access in space-based communications, semiconductors, rare earths, SMRs, fusion, clean energy technology, AI, and sovereign cloud. As part of this, we're expanding our existing cooperation within the G7 Critical Minerals Alliance to secure reliable stockpiles and build our processing capacity.
Sanai said, "Welcome back" to Carney, who previously lived and worked in Japan. He even spoke briefly in Japanese. Well, today's meetings were cordial. Japan also made it clear that continued support in Canada's auto sector is contingent on a successful renegotiation of the Canada-US-Mexico agreement, which is currently up for review. And joining me now is the president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, Flavio Volpe. Lots to unpack here, Flavio. Welcome, and thank you for being here. So the PM signing a new strategic partnership with Japan. First off, how critical is the relationship between Canada and Japan when it comes to the auto sector?
Look, the two biggest assemblers here are Toyota and Honda, which also happen to be the two biggest Japanese automakers. And Toyota, of course, world number one. They've never retreated. They've never pulled back. They don't. They're committed to suppliers and they're committed to their workers. And you know, they're what got us through the last major crisis, the great financial crisis of 15 years ago or so. Right now, their products are being tariffed at a rate that is 2 or 3 times their profit margins from Canada to the U.S. So no surprise for me to hear that the Japanese are saying, hey, look, we want to do stuff together, but let's make sure that you're fighting for the profitability of Japanese investments in Canada currently.
Japan says this is all contingent on a successful renegotiation of CUSMA. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, they're kind of stating the obvious. I think the Prime Minister has also said that. The Prime Minister talked about the G7 Critical Minerals Production Alliance. You know, we just had the biggest mining conference in the world in Toronto earlier this week, PDAC, and we saw a bunch of 24, I think, Canadian projects in critical minerals that were announced by the Minister of Natural Resources, including those partnered with auto companies like Linamar. The Japanese are in a similar place with China as we are with the U.S. You know, a very advanced multi-trillion-dollar economy that's in the shadow of one of the two world's economic superpowers that currently at least have hostile industrial strategy to them. So we need to work together and bank on the 8-decade Canada-Japan agreement to make ourselves a little bit bigger than the sum of the parts. They need a lot of what we have, and we absolutely need for their industrial investments here in Canada to stay the course. So we both owe each other the best effort.
How do you think that U.S. President Donald Trump might react, and could it affect those CUSMA talks?
Look, he reacts to everything, so I'm not sure that we need to always use that as the first line. It's one of the contextual things that you work into the equation. But you know, last week or 2 weeks ago, when the Supreme Court shut down the IEEPA tariffs, he immediately layered on another 10% tariff that will climb, we think, to 15 by this week on everybody. And that includes him going back on the commitments he made to the Japanese. So the Japanese are in the same boat as we are. You've got to be aware of how he might react, but boy, you have to plan to find partners that are reliable,
right.
Partners that are complementary.
Flavio, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. That's Flavio Volpe, president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association.